As we talked about zeta males, do you know zeta females? The rarest of women. They are not a mirror of sigma cool, not a louder boss babe alpha, not a softer beta. They are a darker echo, an instinct-made person. You feel them before you name them. They unsettle rooms, rewrite stories, and move like weather you can't predict. They live by an internal compass. They bend attention into a tool. Sometimes that tool cuts. They weaponize silence, they manipulate, they leave people rearranging the pieces and asking who pulled the strings. This 10-chapter guide is a map and a warning. It tracks how rarity becomes method, how instinct becomes ethic, and how presence can heal or hollow. Read it like strategy, feel it like confession. If you're listening, this is your wake-up call. If you're the type, these chapters are a mirror and a manual. This is her profile. This is her code. This is the anatomy of the ghost. The beautiful monster. Have you ever noticed how your silence can be louder than their screams? The alpha female bulldozes through emotions, her own and others, seeing feelings as obstacles to overcome. The beta female drowns in emotions, letting others' feelings dictate her every move. The sigma female manages emotions like chess pieces, calculating which feelings to reveal and which to conceal. You operate from a different emotional planet entirely. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved, but he never met someone like you. You've discovered something more potent, the power of absolute emotional indifference. When others cry, rage, or plead, you watch with the detached curiosity of a scientist observing lab rats. This isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. Robert Cialdini's research on influence shows how emotions cloud judgment, but you've immunized yourself against this vulnerability. Your indifference to others' feelings becomes a superpower in a world where everyone else is emotionally reactive. Yet here's the contradiction that makes you dangerous. You can turn on warmth like a switch when it serves your purpose, then turn it off just as quickly. This calculated emotional availability confuses people who mistake intensity for intimacy. Your manipulative nature isn't malicious, it's pragmatic. You see through people's emotional performances because you don't participate in them, unencumbered by neediness or attachment. This makes you intoxicating and terrifying in equal measure. Do you ever wonder why people are drawn to you even when you're not trying to attract anyone? The alpha female commands attention through force, demanding the spotlight with aggressive charisma. The beta female earns attention through service, becoming indispensable to feel valued. The sigma female attracts attention through mystery, creating intrigue by revealing just enough to keep people guessing. You pull people into your orbit without even trying. Jung explored the concept of psychological magnetism, how certain individuals possess an unexplainable gravitational pull. You embody this phenomenon perfectly. Your bold presence isn't performance, it's authenticity so raw it becomes hypnotic. People sense your freedom and crave it like addicts crave their next fix. Your energy operates on a different frequency. While others broadcast their needs, insecurities, and desperate attempts at connection, you emit something rarer, complete self-possession. This creates a void in the social atmosphere that others rush to fill. Studies by Hatfield and Sprecher in 1986 revealed how emotional contagion works, how people unconsciously mirror the energy around them. But you're immune to this psychological phenomenon. Instead of absorbing others' emotions, you project your own unshakable center, and people find themselves drawn to your stability like ships to a lighthouse. Your expressiveness isn't about seduction or manipulation for gain, it's about sovereignty. You own your desires completely, and this ownership creates an aura that's impossible to fake and difficult to resist. You don't chase, you simply exist, and existence becomes magnetic when it's this authentically embodied. Do you ever feel like you're watching a play where everyone knows their lines except you? You stand at the crossroads where society demands you choose your mask. The alpha female storms through boardrooms or even love, claiming territories with sharp suits and sharper words. She needs the world to see her power, to validate her conquest. The beta female smiles sweetly, bends gracefully, finds her worth in how well she serves others' expectations. She seeks approval like oxygen. The sigma women move in her own mysterious aura and drive with passion, still playing the game just differently. But you refuse to play at all. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we suffer more in imagination than reality. Yet here's the twist. While others imagine themselves into roles, you've discovered something darker. The refusal itself becomes your identity. You don't reject traditional femininity to become something else, you reject it to become nothing society recognizes. Studies by Baumeister in 2005 found that people construct their identities through social feedback loops. but you operate outside these loops entirely. When alpha females demand respect, when betas seek love, when sigmas cultivate mystery, you're already gone. You've stepped off the chessboard while others argue about being queens or pawns. This isn't just rebellion or erasure, it's their default setting. You don't fight the script, you delete your character from it entirely. The world keeps spinning its narratives about who women should be, and you just walk away, leaving them talking to shadows. You move by your own North Star. Do you wait to other people's applause, or does something inside already set the tempo for your day? You know this feeling. The world offers trophies and likes, and most people rearrange themselves to fit that light. She does not. She lives by a personal code. Freedom is carved from her own rules, not borrowed from comment sections or the dinner table. This is not ego, it is a discipline. Marcus Aurelius would call it duty to the self, Nietzsche would call it the will to make meaning. She refuses social validation as a compass. She builds a compass instead. When others trade themselves for approval, she treats that trade as bankruptcy. Studies on self-determination by Deci and Ryan in 2000 found that autonomy breeds deeper motivation, not applause. This is simple science, messy human truth. It's actually the purest form of freedom, the kind that terrifies people who need permission to breathe. The alpha female feeds on applause the way fire feeds on oxygen. She measures her worth in promotions, in heads turning when she enters rooms, in the fear she sees in competitors' eyes. The beta female craves acceptance like a plant craves sunlight. Her day brightens or darkens based on whether others approve of her choices. Even the sigma female, for all her calculated independence, still moves within the social chess game, measuring her mysterious worth against others' reactions. If you are this type, learn this as a rule. Autonomy feels lonely sometimes, and loneliness is the price of clarity. Keep your rituals small, your promises sacred, and your gaze inward. The world will try to seduce you with mirrors, refuse the mirror trade. You sharpen your edge by living for what you decide, not for what they applaud. The outsider's edge. The alpha female wears power suits like armor, commanding conference rooms with calculated aggression. The beta female perfects the art of blending in, finding safety in sameness, comfort in conformity. The sigma female crafts her mystery carefully, unconventional but still readable to those who know the code. You exist in the spaces between their definitions. Nietzsche spoke of those who must go their own way, not because the path is easy, but because it's theirs alone. You embody this philosophical rebellion. Your detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. While others perform their roles, you observe from the margins, seeing patterns they're too invested to notice. Studies by Simonton in 1994 showed that creative breakthroughs often come from those operating outside established systems. You're not trying to be different. Difference is simply your natural state. When others follow trends, you follow thoughts. When they seek belonging, you seek understanding. Your individualism cuts deeper than surface rebellion. It's not about purple hair or unconventional clothes. It's about thinking thoughts that haven't been pre-approved, feeling feelings that don't fit neat categories, living life according to principles you've discovered, not inherited. This philosophical stance isolates you, but isolation becomes your laboratory. While others need groups to validate their ideas, you develop yours in solitude, testing them against reality rather than consensus. You don't trade face for favor. Do you watch people convert hours into likes and wonder why they never buy what they really need? You know the trade, you see it every day. Hair, posture, brand badges, curated smiles, they turn presents into currency and spend themselves thin. You do something stranger and harder, you withhold the market. You do not use beauty or status as a ledger to buy attention, you make attention an incidental side effect of being unbothered. The alpha female weaponizes her appearance, turning beauty into a boardroom strategy, status into a social ladder. The beta female polishes herself like a mirror, reflecting what others want to see, finding worth in being wanted. The sigma female might downplay her looks, but still uses them as part of her calculated mystique, beauty as a hidden card in her deck. Sun Tzu taught that the supreme excellence is to subdue the enemy without fighting. You've achieved something rarer, you've won by refusing to enter the battle. She will sometimes ignore the mirror intentionally, or deliberately twist the script, wearing plainness like an insult to the auction. Using beauty or status as currency is bankruptcy. It bankrupts the self. To watch someone monetize their face is to watch someone mortgage tomorrow for applause today, and that collapse is quiet but total. Think of life as a market. Most are hawkers selling signal after signal. Goffman in 1959 showed that we perform roles, and modern psychology shows performance costs real energy. Nietzsche would call this inauthenticity, Marcus Aurelius would call it distraction. For Zetas, the problem is irrelevant, they do not barter their center. They sharpen inside reality, they treat attention like wind, not food. You, if this is you, learn to move like weather, be present but never perform to be owned. Keep your looks as an accessory, not a mortgage, and let your value be made from decisions, not from someone else's applause. The tyranny of truth. Do you ever notice how people ask for honesty but flinch when you actually deliver it? The alpha female commands through force and presence. The beta female hide truths, no courage, beg attention. The sigma guides through carefully chosen words and strategic silence, revealing truths only when advantageous. You teach with the bluntness of a sledgehammer. Socrates believed that the unexamined life is not worth living, but he used questions to lead people to their own discoveries. You've bypassed the gentle approach entirely. When you see someone living a lie, you don't dance around it with diplomatic language. You point it out with surgical precision, consequences be damned. Others name that bluntness as domination. They call it tyrannical when it threatens comfort. Studies on charismatic leadership by House, 1977, found that influence can both magnetize and intimidate. Authority that teaches without consent becomes pressure, not guidance. Her insistence can read as coercion, her zeal as a takeover. In third person, they watch her rearrange rooms with a sentence and call it a coup. This compulsion to educate others comes from your core. Epictetus taught that we cannot control others, only ourselves, but you seem to have missed that memo. Your need to share truth borders on the tyrannical because you can't understand how people choose comfortable lies over uncomfortable reality. Research by Dunning and Kruger in 1999 showed how incompetent people remain unaware of their incompetence. You see this everywhere and can't stay silent. Your teaching isn't always welcome. In fact, it's rarely welcome. People experience your insights as attacks on their carefully constructed worldviews. Your dominating behavior isn't about power or spotlight like alphas. It's about impatience. You see solutions others can't, paths forward that seem obvious to you, and their blindness frustrates you into action. The tyranny isn't intentional, it's instinctive. You can't help but push people toward growth, even when they're comfortable in their stagnation. Do you watch people glue themselves to roles and wonder why nobody ever improvises the scene? She appears unpredictable, anarchic in thought. She dissolves the signpost that others clutch. To spectators, she looks like a moving problem. To strategists, she looks like a blind spot you cannot map. Her unpredictability can terrify those who live off scripts, and they will call that terror a crime. Nietzsche's will to power reads this as refusal to be defined. Sun Tzu would say unpredictability beats brute force, that when you cannot be read you cannot be countered. She is not a stunt of confusion. She is a tactic, a refusal of the tidy categories that make people comfortable. She appends expectations not for drama, but because categories limit movement. This is not rebellion for applause, it is economy of being. When others demand explanation, she gives silence or a strategy, and that silence often gets labeled as cruelty. For Zetas, the problem is irrelevant. They act from compulsion, not concession. You, if you carry this code, do not mistake chaos for lack of plan. Sharpen unpredictability into choice, not accident. The narrative destroyer. Have you ever dropped a single sentence that made someone question everything they thought they knew? The alpha female fights established narratives head-on, declaring war on systems that limit her. The beta female accepts narratives as truth, finding comfort in stories that explain her place in the world. The sigma female navigates around narratives, finding gaps and exceptions that allow her to operate freely. You don't fight narratives. You dissolve them with logic so sharp it cuts through illusion like acid through paper. Nietzsche declared that God is dead, but you've taken this further. You've killed the comfortable lies people tell themselves to sleep at night. Your rebel intellect doesn't just question authority, it questions the very foundations that make authority possible. When others see solid ground, you see quicksand. Your mind works like a philosophical wrecking ball. Common wisdom, popular beliefs, accepted truths, they all crumble under your analysis. This isn't destruction for its own sake, it's archaeology of thought, digging through layers of borrowed beliefs to find what's actually real. Research by Festinger in 1957 on cognitive dissonance shows how people resist information that conflicts with their existing beliefs. You create cognitive earthquakes wherever you go. Your observations force people to confront contradictions they've spent years avoiding, and the shock often leaves them reeling. Some call you destabilizing, others call you enlightening. The truth is you're both. Your intellect doesn't just flip narratives, it reveals how arbitrary most of them were in the first place. You show people that their carefully constructed worldviews were built on foundations of sand, and while this terrifies some, it liberates others who were already feeling the ground shift beneath their feet. You ghost the throne you pull without a crown. Do you ever feel like you're operating from inside the system while remaining completely invisible to it? The alpha female climbs hierarchies, demanding recognition at every level. The beta female borrows her place from alphas, accepting her position and living within established structures. The sigma female sidesteps hierarchies, creating her own parallel systems of influence and power. You haunt every hierarchy without belonging to any. Sun Tzu taught that the supreme strategist wins without the enemy knowing a battle was fought. You've mastered this to an art form. While others jostle for visible positions of power, you pull strings from dimensions they don't even know exist. Your influence flows through systems like water through cracks, reshaping everything it touches. This ghost-like quality makes you nearly impossible to counter. How do you fight someone who isn't officially there? How do you compete with someone who isn't playing by your rules? Your defiant spirit operates outside conventional power structures, making you immune to traditional forms of control or manipulation. Studies by French and Raven in 1959 identified 5 bases of power, but you've discovered a 6th, the power of strategic invisibility. You influence outcomes without fingerprints, shape conversations without speaking, direct flows of energy while remaining undetected by those who think they're in charge. Your shadow player nature isn't about hiding, it's about transcending. You've realized that most visible power is actually weakness, desperate attempts to control external validation. Real power flows through influence, through the ability to affect change without needing credit or recognition. You move through the world like wind through trees, invisible but undeniably present, your effects obvious even when your methods remain mysterious. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. Peace.